I'm writing about my first meetings where I'm talking about that I just cannot stop eating. And I'd been in foster care where I pointed out that the girls that had drug and alcohol issues were getting treatment, but I'm doing with food what they're doing with drugs and alcohol. And they laughed at me. They were like, you know, and I then after I left and I'm struggling and it's a nightmare, the social worker was like, "Oh, yeah, now we understand in 12-step program we're using that." And I was like, and I'm at this meeting and people came up to me thanking me for my share to remind me how horrific this disease is and how just thanking me for my miserable honest share, and they get to go off into their life and I have to go back into not understanding program, not understanding how this higher power
Right.
shit works, and it was like, fuck you.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's so true. And yeah, it's really interesting. I think we've talked a little bit about like I've gone to a bunch of OA meetings and stuff, and the thing that really blew my mind is like a year in my second year of sobriety. So I felt like I was starting to get there. I was starting to understand that like I could be free from addiction and or the sense of bondage that you get from it, that I could have some freedom and like higher power and all this stuff. I was really starting to feel the benefits of the program. And I was like, I'd love to get a hold on my relationship with sugar. So I cut sugar out of my diet. And after like 2 weeks, all my drug dreams were all switched to sugar. And it was way harder. Like I couldn't believe it. I was like, I immediately, as soon as I got rid of sugar in my diet, like all the dreams where I was like taking bags of heroin out of my pocket and being like, oh my God, I found one. Like I know in my dream at this point, I'm saying, I know I'm sober, but like what's one little last hurrah? You know what I mean? Like in my head, in my dream, saying this to myself. And I'd open the bag and inside were cookies. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And I realized like, holy shit, I'd wake up and go like, oh my God, like my body is way more upset about the sugar than the heroin at this point. Like that is that's wild. My mind, the addiction, like, and I realized like, wow, it is serious. Like, you know what I mean? Like food-based addiction stuff is so serious.
I really wanted to be a thin drug addict, and I was jealous of all the punks that were using, because you didn't see stories about cool fat girls. Being fat was synonymous with the pigs, from the hippie songs to the punk songs. There was nothing about being fat. I mean, I say it in the documentary, there's nothing worse than a fat punk. And I wonder if you feel any pressure around your weight being on stage.
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely. And it's it's a tough one to sort of figure out because I'm a little bit prone to that kind of thing anyway, like having been like sort of overweight as a young kid. I grew up like a foot over the summer before like high school. And so I like went from being like a real chubby kid to being so skinny, but I never like it never changed in my mind. And so I just always wanted to be skinnier, skinnier, skinnier. And once I started seeing like these angles from below photographs and zines and like online pictures where like, I'm like banging my head really hard and it's changing the shape of my face and stuff. And it's so hard not to have body dysmorphia. And I look at pictures of myself from when I was like on the covers of magazines. I was, 6 feet tall, 130 pounds, and thought I was so fat. So now when I see myself, and I certainly am, at 45, like I'm built totally different than this sort of like twink adjacent kind of like frame that I had when I was younger.
I love that
Um,
you said that. Yeah.
um, but I try to remind myself, like, dude, you don't see your body clearly. You know what I mean? So like let's take a beat. Let's not like go into a cycle of like not eating or fasting or this or, I've got a lot of things that I do that aren't like super healthy around my body image and stuff anyway. So I've been trying to be more aware of that and treat it as, something that I have to work on and not just take for granted like I used to. And when I say work on, I don't mean like I got to go work out or whatever. I mean, I have to work on like what's in here. I have to work on my addictive behavior around this stuff.